Hey, what's up? I'm going to try to wrap up this essential episodes article of Robotech with the third part, Robotech New Generation. Now, the original series that made up New Generation was called Genesis Climber Mospeada. It was about Earth being taken over in the middle of the 21st century by an alien race called the Inbit. And here it's called the Invid in Robotech. They take over the Earth for the purpose of they're kind of like aliens that go around the universe trying to find the life forms to adapt to whatever world they go to. And of course, they take over the Earth, and the colonies of the planet Earth decide to try to liberate the mother planet. And unfortunately, the aliens are way too powerful, and so you end up with a show of people, survivors from who grew up on this devastated Earth, and also some of the soldiers from these colony planets. They sort of form a ragtag group trying to figure out how they're going to defeat these aliens who seem to be almost entirely in power and unable to be defeated. So as you can see, the whole idea of a hopeless, powerful system that rules you, resisting it, using subterfuge and hit and run and all kinds of subversive ways to try to just survive to the next day. It had an appeal for me back then, and you can imagine today, 35 years later, it has a real appeal to me now. It's almost surreal in a way. But anyhow, so we go over here, Invid Invasion. Now, the one thing I noticed, the main character of this show is a young military soldier from a colony planet of Mars. And Scott Bernard, he's called Stick in Mospeada, but in Robotech he's Scott Bernard. He's like the military guy who has never seen Earth, but he's there to liberate this planet. And some ways he's naive, and in some ways he's very driven. And this seems to bother a lot of the younger writers of today. They really do not like Scott. Once again, the masculine sense of duty that he has seems to really bother them. Um, I think he's the most likable character probably in all of Robotech, actually. But anyway, so here we go. And this is kind of funny. Scott, he mentions when Scott Bernard, a leading character, lands on Earth, he hates it. Okay. Well, why does he hate it? He's leaving out the fact that Scott was in a fleet that tried to free the Earth. It was the second fleet to try to do it. Okay. His attack wing pretty much gets annihilated. All his friends that he grew up with and his fiancee, who he proposes to, they all die within the first 10 minutes of this episode. Okay. Yeah, so he hates it, all right. It's amazing that he doesn't, like, give up right there. This was a shocking episode to me as a kid. You see these humans who you assume are going to be the characters, and they all die except for this young man. Anyway, and here's the theme too. The combat system of New Generation, Mospeada, is a motorcycle that becomes a battle armor. It is friggin' cool. What's even cooler too is these aliens are like giant insectoid type aliens. They're based on the arachnids from Starship Troopers, and the Mospeada battle armor is also based on Starship Troopers. The Japanese creators literally said that in interviews. Um, it's interesting that this kind of backup weapon is actually more effective against these things than their large weapons, which just get swarmed and ground up by these aliens. So we'll go here and who's that? That's a pretty hot looking woman, right? Oh boy. Okay. The great thing about New Generation, okay, they have a small cast, right? It's like a guerrilla fighters, trying to fight against overwhelming odds. Okay, and his favorite character is Yellow Dancer. Who is this Yellow Dancer? Well, that's a man. All right, and I'm going to spend this whole entry talking about Lancer. He says he's amazing. Cross-dressing character in 80s cartoon show is near unheard of. Yes, it is. I remember when I saw this, it kind of shocked me in one way, but it wasn't so shocking. It was actually kind of weird, and I'm going to explain to you why. But anyway, having a let's see, It's never treated as a joke. Okay, he cross-dresses and makes fun of anyone who doesn't take it seriously. When he straight up fucks with the team, I don't know why there's all this swearing here, but with a wink and a smile at the end of this episode, you know this dude is comfortable in his own body. Okay, having such a gender-bending character is something series struggle to include even today. So the fact that Robotech had one back in '85, it proves how ahead of its time Robotech was. Well, it was Mospeada, okay, that did this, and he's leaving out once again a few things. Okay, I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose. He's just focusing on what he wants to focus on, which is fine. He wrote this. He's leaving out the context here. Well, first of all, it's the Japanese did this, as we know. The Japanese view on certain things, gender things, while of course they were very masculine and you had very feminine, it's not a Christian culture. Okay, I mean, arguably Europeans aren't Christians, but essentially they're Christians for the last 2,000 years. So the Japanese views on things like this were a little different right off the bat. This is a very Japanese character, even though the character actually is, as you can see, is actually supposed to be a European descended character in the show. But regardless, this character isn't cross-dressing for fun. This was a young soldier from the first fleet that went to try to liberate the Earth. And the other character in this group, the big dude, they're both from the same attack group that gets annihilated, just like the second one did. And he's dressed up as a woman because he was almost dead. And the woman that was taking care of him dressed him up like that so he wouldn't be captured and executed by humans who were helping the aliens, okay? Which is a huge theme again in this one. You have tons of human traitors that help the aliens against any of these soldiers. So he's not dressed up for fun. He's dressed up using it as a weapon. Okay? He's using it as a weapon to disguise himself so he can continue the fight against overwhelming odds. Okay, because going head to head with the aliens hasn't worked out too well. Okay? We have over here, let's see, and like I said, the Japanese have. So you already have a culture that views this a little differently than the West did, which is ironic that now the West, what was crazy 35 years ago, is now inverted, where this is, in some ways, much more common, let's just say that. And this is actually a really cool character. Now, the problem was, it was not as shocking. It was shocking to me, but it was shocking right off the bat because the English dub, Robotech, uses a male voice actor even when the character is a woman. Okay, whereas in Mospeada, this character had a female voice when he was dressed as a female. So you had no idea it was a man until the end. And as a man, he had a kind of husky voice. It was actually the voice actor that does Bright Noah from Mobile Suit Gundam for my anime fans. But this character was a very masculine character. Okay, this was a weapon, a guerrilla weapon against the aliens, and mostly against the humans that were helping the aliens. Because obviously, aliens are not really going to be fooled by this. They just look at humans as humans. But he uses this as a weapon. And the context here is kind of lost. It makes you think he's just some guy dressing up for fun. And there's no fun in this. This is deadly serious. And like I said, Robotech kind of ruins it because they use the same voice actor. So I remember watching this going, why does this woman have a man's voice? I think I know where this is going, okay? I was 13. I wasn't a little kid when this came out. I was seeing guys like this in the city when I would go with my dad to 42nd Street to go to the Musicians Union, top of the Port Authority, and I was already starting to see certain things. But regardless, and this is a great character too. But anyway, in this episode here, this is exactly what happens. They have a concert with this female persona, and they use it to steal energy, and it's kind of cool because this is to fool humans that are working for the aliens. Okay, the aliens are kind of like a third party at this point. The humans that take advantage of these aliens who rule the earth for privilege and for power are in many ways the real enemies in this show. Okay, the aliens are just trying to survive, but there's plenty of scummy humans that want to betray their fellow humans who are fighting against the aliens, and that theme is really what's interesting. And yeah, I remember Sky. Look up, the sky is falling is a very '80s synth thing. Michael Bradley, the singer, is actually pretty good, but once again, it was the same idea. Harmony Gold was very cheap. Okay, they told this actor, this singer, that this is just some guy, so he's just singing like a man. So you hear this woman singing like a man. Whereas in the original Japanese Mospeada, you have some really good songs with the female singer, who's a really good singer. But like I said, that's Mospeada. Anyway, now we get here. Oh, this guy, eulogy. Now here we go again. Okay, Jonathan Wolfe. This is another example of a man who becomes a traitor. Okay, hero worship will always bite you in the ass. All right, he looked up to this guy. This guy was a veteran commander who actually turns out to be a traitor. Okay, where hero worship will bite you in the ass. Okay, he wants peace at all costs. Well, this is what happens. Okay, but it's kind of funny that the writer doesn't mention that he essentially redeems himself at the end as much as you possibly can. Okay, but whatever. And we'll just go over here. Like here we go. Enter Marlene, crushed hopes. Okay, his team rightly gives him shit. Okay, well again with the cursing for taking it out on them. Scott may be the leader, but he's not absolved of his shitty actions. Okay, all right, shitty actions. This guy was living on the hope that there would be these reinforcements, and he finds them all wiped out. So the guy's a human being. He lost his fiance. Okay, he saw his hopes crushed again, and he kind of breaks down a little bit and just gives up temporarily. Okay, so rightly gives him shit. Well, he's a human being. Okay. And there you go. With death fresh in his mind, can you blame him for wanting to graft the name of his dead lover onto the alien girl they just found? I mean, yeah, it's creepy, right? Well, I thought it was very touching, actually. But what do I know? Not only am I creepy to these young left-leaning people, I'm also something else. I am evil and a demon for certain things I believe. Things very similar to what these characters were trying to do. They wanted the human race to survive against the domination of aliens that wanted to eventually replace them. That's just a cartoon show, right? But once again, he just likes to jump on Scott, And we have something here. I remember this episode. This is where, what is it? At each other's throats. Yeah, give it a rest, Scott. Right, he's bringing up Rand. Rand's actually a cool character. He doesn't mention much. Rand is the other. Actually, you have they're all masculine characters. Okay, and this is Lancer as a man, which he is a man. He is a man the whole time. And there's Annie with the. I remember I didn't put two and two together. That hat, that's E.T., the extraterrestrial, which came out I think the same year that this came out, 1983. And there's Lunk. There's the big dude. Okay. It's kind of funny. Like I said, there's a scene in Mospeada where this guy freaks out and basically this character tells him that he's being unmanly and he needs to act like a man, which just reinforces all the things I said about the character. But anyway, and it ends up with this here. War has changed the human race. Okay, Robotech's biggest theme: war isn't glorious. Okay. That is definitely true. Robotech, the shows that made it up, and a lot of other Japanese shows that were concurrent, yeah, they're anti-war shows. It destroys lives, right? Okay, against that darkness, there's still hope. People fighting against insurmountable odds. Well, isn't that what we're trying to do? But who's us? Anyway, Robotech is always great. It's always going to be my favorite. And it's funny how all these years later, all the disappointment of what we didn't have, and the threats, the real threats to the human race and to the planet Earth, and to the different races of Earth, it's very interesting to see that the wars of the past still have a huge influence on us. But the wars of the past for Japan influenced the views that they had, which is why they were able to tell such good anti-war stories where still the combatants had to fight and be warriors, because you could be against war, but still war is endless. Anyway, that's Robotech. Later.